What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and you're watching our Big Ten channel. We're going to preview the 2024 schedule here for Penn State. Before we get to that 2024 schedule, let's look back at 2023. Here was the schedule from last season, and of course this team went 10-2 in the regular season, 10-3 after the loss in the bowl game. And you know, it was kind of a predictable season with Ohio State, Michigan, the tough games, and they needed to find a way to win one of those if they were going to maybe take that next step and maybe get to the college football playoff. They played West Virginia in the non-conference last season, and then they played Delaware and UMass, so not too tough of a non-conference schedule. Although West Virginia wound up being pretty good last year, better than a lot of people expected. And then, again, Ohio State, Michigan, really the only teams on their level in the Big Ten. So let's look at this schedule for 2024. And before we go game by game, let's break it down. First, we'll look at the non-conference. They'll play West Virginia again this year, this time on the road. Could be a tricky game. West Virginia, not an easy place to play. Bowling Green and Kent State in there at home. And then we'll just look at the entire home schedule here. Those two games, also Illinois, UCLA, Ohio State, Washington, and Maryland. That means 5 home games and 4 road games for Penn State. And you look at those home games, Ohio State's going to be tough, obviously, but Illinois, UCLA, Washington, Maryland, all very winnable games for Penn State at home. So a pretty nice home schedule there. You look at the road schedule, again, West Virginia, and then they also got USC, Wisconsin, Purdue, and Minnesota. I'm not super high on USC, and that's not exactly one of the toughest places to play. Wisconsin probably going to be their toughest road game, if not West Virginia. So this is a pretty favorable schedule. No games where you'd say Penn State cannot win. Again, you get Ohio State at home, and they're going to be favored more than likely in all these road games. So this, again, is a very favorable schedule. They'll open up with West Virginia week 1 on the road. Then they play Bowling Green the next week. And then, so their bye weeks are kind of weird. They have a bye week between Bowling Green and Kent State. I mean, could you have a bye week at a worse spot, week 3, between Bowling Green and Kent State? That's rough right there. But they get Kent State coming off of a bye. Then they'll play Illinois on September 28th. Then it's UCLA at home on October the 5th. And then it'll be that road game at USC October 12th. And then they get their other bye weeks. So their bye weeks come before really the halfway point, the first half of the season. They have 6 games after their second bye week. So it's almost like those first 6 games are just kind of figuring things out, and games again where they could win. And then you get into that stretch of Wisconsin on the road, and then it's Ohio State on November the 2nd. Then after that, Washington on the 9th. Follow that up with Purdue on the road and Minnesota on the road. So they get back-to-back road games there. And it's really interesting the way, they've got West Virginia week 1, and then they have a bye week between USC and Wisconsin both on the road, and then Purdue and Minnesota both on the road. So it's just kind of weird how it's just a strange schedule. But yeah, Purdue, Minnesota on the road, and then Maryland to close things out on November 30th. So the order of the games, the bye weeks and all that, not great. But as far as the opponents, this is a very, very favorable schedule, and I think it gives Penn State a chance to maybe even get to the Big Ten championship. Again, you're looking for tough stretches. Wisconsin on the road, Ohio State, Washington, that's a tough stretch. And you could really just go with those final 6 games because they get no breaks. Purdue and Minnesota, games where Penn State should be favored, but they're on the road, and you never know on the road. Maryland, it's kind of tough to figure out how good that team's going to be. So really, the first half of their schedule, very manageable in my opinion. USC on the road, West Virginia on the road, could be a little bit tricky, but after you get past that second bye week, that's when the more difficult stretch of the season will start. And again, those final 6 games are going to be pretty tough. But overall, again, Penn State has a very favorable schedule compared to some of the other teams in the Big Ten. Again, it's going to give them a chance. This schedule is going to give Penn State a chance to maybe get to that Big Ten championship.